This is an example of what can be done. The benefits of the filter strip. What starts in the field stays in the field, and it's a win for the environment. It takes a larger and broader effort than just a mile and a half. You need to be able to put a whole creek system into the riparian forest buffer before you get the maximum benefits. And that's our goal. And I think landowners want to do that. They want to be able to say, we are part of the solution, not part of the problem. That eliminates any worry of regulatory folks coming in and mandating. We want this to be voluntary. I know that these systems work. They stop sedimentation. They stop nutrients from getting into the water corridor. They stop pesticides from getting in the water corridor. For a little bit of land, we can improve water quality.
When the water runs off the ground, it also carries with it the chemicals. Any pollutants that might be contained in the soil are going to run off with it. It's a pretty serious water quality issue, and so it's not just a farming issue, it's not just a loss of productivity, it's an environmental issue that has widespread negative consequences. We've got people going no-till now, doing direct seed. They're protecting the water course by reducing sedimentation in the stream. But what we're doing in buffers now, it's taking the next step, quite honestly, because the parameters of the Clean Water Act include more than just sedimentation and keeping sediment and debris out of the water course. It is about temperature and shading the stream, and it's about pH levels, the amount of dissolved oxygen, and it's about all the aquatic wildlife and being able to look at this and say, yes, I'm doing it right, and it's the right thing to do. And that's where we're going. That's the future of agriculture. That's sustainable agriculture on the Palouse.
Every one of us require resources to survive. And so when a landowner opts to buffer a stream, they're buffering water that belongs to all of us. When someone opts to do this voluntarily, they're going above and beyond, and they should really be thanked. In conjunction with no-till or direct seeding, riparian buffer stops those farm chemical residues from ever reaching the stream. A grass buffer like this stops phosphates entirely from getting anywhere near the water because the plants uptake that phosphate. There's no erosion that's going to get through this grass buffer and into those trees and into the creek. It stops it.
I was born in the house I'm living in, and I've always just loved the place. We had trees on both sides, and we could swim in the river anytime we wanted to, and we had sandbars in the river. After the war, they've got all these poisonous sprays, and they came here and sprayed everything, and they hit the trees along the river, and it killed them. I always want my children and my grandchildren to enjoy the river. And one of the larger parts of enjoying this river is the trees that grow along it, because it's a pretty arid area. And so we need to plant trees to get them back, because they're not coming back on their own. I hope I get to see it when it comes up a little bit, but you know, I'm 91 years old. And so there's no guarantees that I will get to see it.
It happened in 1980. I had some friends in Louisiana and some friends from California, and I invited them up to hunt. And so we all came up, and there was not very many pheasants, and there was not very much cover on the river. And we decided after that experience that we were going to put in some habitat. We started planting 3,000 or 4,000 trees. Next year it was 5,000. We kind of got carried away. There was no question about habitat being of value.
Riparian restoration sites are considered wildlife habitat. Because of the high diversity of plants that are here, it increases forage base for loads and loads of wild animals. And it also provides nesting sites for neotropic migrant birds. Birds eat huge numbers of insects and mostly pest species. The landowner actually is providing habitat for raptors, which eat mice by the ton, and so that's really important. Rivers and streams are naturally always moving. They're dynamic, and a dynamic stream has a riparian buffer for that very reason. Those trees provide shade to the water, which cools the temperature. Tree root masses along the shoreline dictate the amount of slow erosion that occurs. It's a controlled erosion.
Our ground, we have about a half a mile of Palouse River. The lease ground that we have takes in about another 3.5 miles. We've put in miles and miles of fence. You know, they've cost shared and helped us with a lot of water programs.
I oversee our conservation programs to provide assistance to farmers to provide environmental improvements on their properties. At the end of the day, the farmers still got to make a living on their ground. They don't want to do things that are going to adversely affect their ability to support their family, so we offer them a variety of tools that they can choose from. We've got our regular riparian buffers under the Conservation Reserve Program. We've got kind of the enhanced riparian buffers where primarily the enhancement is additional financial benefits. We also do grass filter strips along streams and just drainages within fields. And then you've got other agencies that provide programs that maybe suit their operation in a manner that we don't, such as the conservation districts and the Department of Ecology. Among those options, there is a lot of utilization in the Palouse counties.
It's a mind-boggling number of trees that they've planted that there's no way that, you know, we would have been able to have done that. It's a situation where you work kind of like you would with a neighbor.
The creek that I did, the water would go outside the bank, so it'd go into my cropland. Well, that damages my cropland. Getting that grass variety established is probably my biggest issue anyway. And it always had grass in there or woody vegetation or whatever. A bank that is sloped to maintain it than a vertical bank that has not been properly sloped. Just easier and safer way to do it.
We take a lot of pride in our conservation work so that when that next generation is able to take over the farm or the ranch, it's there.
If you don't change, you're done. Our kids, they think this is what it is, and it's not. It's been a huge process of change in the last 30 years. Personally, I like the change because it is exciting and it gives you something to look forward to, something to think about.
They've gotten into a bunch of the technological advances and practices to make sure that there is resources and whatnot available for me. So I should probably think about doing the same for my kids. And when it gets to me, there's not really a lot that's gonna change too much, except for it'll evolve just like he evolved from his dad.
When this all comes together, and you have your ag land and you have highly productive ag lands because you're direct seeding and you're holding all your moisture and the soil is staying in place and none of the herbicides and pesticides are getting to the stream, everything is working out better. And to me, this is just an absolute win-win-win situation. And it's where we're going. It's where we have to go. And the ones that are going to do it voluntarily now are going to be the ones that can take advantage of all those cost share programs and grants and that type of thing, the assistance to do it.